Thanks so much, everyone. Today our topic is about exploring how resources companies, contractors and suppliers are working together to lift productivity, control costs and, of course, deliver real sustainable outcomes. So I'd like to get straight into it. Ray, I'll start with you. Mining has always been about managing productivity and cost at the end of the day, but the bar, of course, has been continually raised, and we now have an additional focus on sustainability. It's, of course, front and centre. From where you sit as a contractor, what does delivering sustainable outcomes actually mean to Thiess?
So if I go to... Working.
Oh, there we
yes,
go.
it is. There you go. If I go to the definition of what we would call sustainable, of course our minds go to the environmental, the carbon side of things, social performance in every aspect, but also from a sustainability point of view, the operation's got to be economic. At the end of the day, if it's not economic and it's not going to deliver economies in some respect, it's just not going to happen. So we take productivity, sustainability as a mutually beneficial view of how we put together our operations rather than competing competencies. So we then partner with our client. So firstly, safe operations, absolute given. If it's not safe, it's generally not economic. It does tie very much into the productivity side of things, or it won't be tolerated and you'll get shut down anyway. So that's a given. I'm not going to go on any further about that. But firstly, really value maximisation. So that is looking truly deeply understanding the key drivers of a mine or an operation for our client as well as for us, and getting the fundamentals right. So the strategy and our mining strategy, it is a multi-variable exercise, putting together a mine plan and an operation. But the fundamentals include lots of things. So fully understanding the geology, the product, and the complexity of an ore body, and putting the right mining method, the right equipment, any special techniques, any product qualities or special treatments that we need to do. Getting the right equipment from a size and flexibility point of view. Emissions come into this. Autonomy might be an option. One of my colleagues, Nick Brown, will be talking about our experiences there later tomorrow, I think. And then obviously social performance, so local community involvement and synergies need to be taken into account, and some consultation there on what those synergies are, and building that into the design of the project. So that might look like a lot of things. And then the full mining value chain needs to be looked at. So you basically, we've launched a rehab business recently. So another one of my colleagues will be speaking about our experiences there, but that's got to be weaved in from the start. So I guess, in answer to your question, we assist our clients through a holistic view and a longer term view. So for a contractor, that's probably not usual. But to me, that's what brings the most value, and it's mutually beneficial in both productivity, and I think efficiency is really the key, as well as the sustainability piece.
Craig, from a Sandvik point of view, delivering sustainable outcomes, what does that mean for Sandvik in terms of the people that you're working with?
Really good question, and apologies to the crowd. I don't normally sound like Clint Eastwood, but I'm just wrestling with the remnants of a cold, so apologies for that. I think the first part of the answer to that question is that sustainability no longer sits beside productivity. It's part of productivity. So we look at that from Sandvik, and our objective is how can we help our customers, these as an example, how can we help them do more with less? How do we help them, their operation become more productive and more efficient? Things like improved hole quality, improves the blasting, reduces overbreak, for example, in underground operations. Improved ground support, reduces rehabilitation. So all of those things are things we consider when we're developing products and engaging with our customers. We take it to some of our product offerings that we have, like AutoMine and Optimine. We talk about autonomous operations, and those tools and those products are designed to help customers with the efficiency of their fleet movement and their operations underground, and also using that information to optimise the process even more. So I think that's where our focus is in that space. And I think when you look at real life examples where we've been able to do these things, I think a good one is with our good customers, George Fisher with Glencore. They've introduced a fleet of automated trucks, and the outcome of that was the improvement that they've done to an already efficient operation. They've taken it a step further. And I think that's where Sandvik adds value. And then when we look at what does it look like for us, that's how we consider our product roadmaps and our development. How can we help our customers do more with less?
Yeah. Scott, critical minerals, obviously, you know, fairly quite new to Australia. We're still investing, we're still seeing products being developed, but, you know, looking as a newer player in the market, what does it mean to you?
Yeah, we're quite popular at the moment, certainly with Trump and Albo's comments over the night, so we're feeling pretty chuffed at the moment. But we are a junior. We're starting a new business in critical minerals. It's vanadium, so I come from the junior end. And really want to applaud the sort of comments made already by Ray and Craig. Absolutely, environment's important, social is important, and it's got to be economic. So you really are spending a fair bit of time making sure all of those elements are in line front. But one of the most important things, certainly for us, we're in a new jurisdiction, we're in a new commodity, in an area that isn't familiar with mining. I mean, they're familiar, but they certainly don't have in the country town, they don't have the sustainable businesses to support what you're developing. So a lot of work for us is around making sure the supply chain's in place. So how do we help the community, that includes traditional owners, and surrounding businesses. There might be some towns that are adjacent that like Mount Isa, for example, that's sort of winding down. How can we support them to maintain their businesses to support us in that region? Because you know, you can invest in your own development, but you're one piece in the cog. You're not everything. You need support around you to help the cafes to provide the lunches. You need the local, light vehicle manufacturer, fixer to do your maintenance. So there's a lot of work that we spend in that, and making sure, certainly in construction, early construction phase, that people don't over-invest. One of the problems that in certain areas where I've developed mines in the past has been an over-investment in a business because there's a foreseeable growth in past the construction. But obviously during construction you get this heightened period, but then you get a drop. Yep. And I've seen many businesses just go under because they've over-invested capital. So we spend a lot of time making sure people are making the right investments, a sustainable outcome, and that includes involving them in the planning, involving them in the early stages of what we're trying to develop out there so they can have their own visibility, make their own decisions. And I think that sort of brings both the social sort of aspect as well as the financial aspect together that we can see, you know, as a sustainable outcome for us. So that gives us a lot of, if I reflect back on the environmental stuff, regulations are really quite solid. There's a lot of government support. There's a lot of requirements that are quite stipulated, so you've got to run through to ensure you've got biodiversity covered, water covered. So I think they are regulated, but a lot more emphasis now is on the social and making sure it's integrated with the financial.
Yeah, I think you make a really good point. You know, we've learnt some lessons, I think, over the years, particularly with the boom of the Bowen Basin, where we've built mining towns around mining operations, and then, you know, it's come to a point where those mines are closing and you've got businesses and families in towns, Glendon, for example, that are left behind. Craig, you touched on automation there. Yes. From a technology supplier point of view, are there any other innovations that you're truly moving the dial for productivity in mining and operations?
Yeah, I definitely, I think some of the big step changes that we've seen over recent times, automation, definitely, digitalisation, and to a degree, electrification. So those three sort of pillars are driving a lot of the step changes that we're seeing, and some of them are far more advanced than other areas. And I think from a Sandvik perspective, the development that we've put in to support that is through these products like AutoMine and OptiMine. And the value that they bring is that they're actually helping our customers run as efficiently as they possibly can, and give them the data to try and help improve those processes that can even make their operations even more efficient. But they're probably the key innovations that we've seen. And then, of course, if you overlay that with real-time data and preventative maintenance, then we're getting more and more uptime as well through those sorts of innovations.
Collaboration. Like
Yes.
that's a hard one, particularly there's a lot of sort of, that's my IP, I'm not going to share that here. Are we seeing more openness? I'll ask you, Craig, and I might throw to you, Ray, as well.
Collaboration, I would say that's a definite yes.
Okay. Finally getting better.
Yeah, and I won't put a caveat on it. We are seeing much more collaboration and engagement from our customers, and it's going both ways. We're reaching out for that feedback and that collaboration as we're developing products. It's really important to us that we engage with our key customers early, and so that the products that we're developing meet their expectations and their requirements that they need. But definitely we're seeing a lot more collaboration and cooperation. Any product that's going to get tested has the potential to be disruptive to an operation. You're going to bring new technology in. Are people ready for it? But we're seeing a much more willingness from our major customers to try these sorts of technologies.
Ray, would you say the same? I know that you guys have obviously rolled out quite a large autonomous haulage at Pembroke, and you've had some pretty amazing advancements with productivity there. Are you finding that there is more collaboration?
Absolutely. Along with partnering with the client to get the operation to be the best it can be. We are in their supply chain at the end of the day, and we're probably one of the biggest parts of their costs. So we also look to partner with our suppliers. So we've got some good examples there. I guess AECI comes to mind, where we help to bring them into the country. And we've been working with them for a number of years now. They supply not just the explosives, but the expertise to help us. And, as a result, many years later, we're performing highly complex blasts at a number of our sites. I think we've just set a world record for size of blast at Lake Vermont last month, I think it was. 5.3 plus million BCMs. So it's a very good partnership. Plus, we sort of brought another competitor into the market as well by doing so. And I guess we're also partnering with tech companies as well to help our other sort of aspirations going forward. We're launching the asset services business, where we're looking at 0-hour rebuilds and partnering with Flanders, for example, for hybrid technology, and Econ for OEM agnostic autonomy. And I guess at Olive Downs, we've got we are the only contractor running an autonomous fleet. I think Nick Brown's going to be sharing that those learnings and experiences later tomorrow. But certainly a massive collaboration between us and Cat and the client.
And I think, it brings that demand. You've got clients demanding cost controls. Like, we're in a downturn market, particularly in our coal. Our costs are, whether it be labour costs, royalties costs, cost of machinery, everything is rising. And so it does really need to be that collaboration between you and the client. Scott, you're a growing company. As you said, you're a junior, you're starting out. Financing and cost discipline are obviously critical for you. How do you prioritise where to invest? You were talking about your communities, but also you've got, technology you've got to invest in. With those upfront costs, are there areas that you're avoiding? Are there areas that you're really saying this is where we need to be?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Every dollar counts in a junior because every dollar has to create value. But I think the important thing is that value is in front of you, it's medium term, and then it's long term. So I think the best way to ensure your dollar is making the right impact is to have a really clear strategy. You know, you've got to look at what you're trying to achieve, not only in the short term, but in the long term. Short term, because you've got to be able to create value, create momentum, create news that will attract investment and attract the shareholders, create value on a share price if you're listed. But long term is really what you're trying to do. You know, we're trying to develop a mine, a processing manufacturing capability that will, you know, be a part of the energy transition long term. So it's a delicate bit of architecture, but it all comes from the you know, really clear strategy up front. And then you've actually got to do things tough. Really get out there, see what. Come back to collaboration. You know, the local community can do so much for you, and then you're adding back a little bit as well to help with some of the on-ground bits and pieces instead of you flying up there and back. So being just a little bit smart with your dollars. Coming back to the sustainability point, we don't shortcut on that, but we risk assess what we do. You know, some things add real value and some things don't, but sustainable outcomes really is a little bit of investment up front, so we don't avoid that up front. I mean, it's one of our strategic pillars. So we invest just the right amount to keep it creeping along. This year's our second ESG report, and as a junior we don't really have to be doing that, but we've seen that as an important value add to the business. So know the fundamental things that add value, short, medium and long term. That's the message.
Let's talk about the future outlook. I'll start with you, Ray. Looking ahead 5-10 years, how do you see the role of Thiess or contractors evolving in helping clients deliver these sustainable outcomes?
Yep. So I've talked about partnering to get the right operation designed. So pretty much all the easy stuff's gone. So it's going to be increasingly complex. Yep. So even more so, it's important to get that strategy right and maximising the value out of that asset with probably complex mining techniques, etc. But also, I think also in the decarbonisation space, I've mentioned the Thiess Asset Services business. There is going to be a time period before the technology is actually there for people to buy new. So there's going to be a window there where there's probably going to need to be a lot of rebuilds, and then we can look at hybrid technology and autonomy in that piece. Partnerships with people.
Work with us, not against us.
I guess the other piece is we're looking at also business in fugitive emissions management. So firstly, characterising what's in the ground and how we would get it out, applying oilfields technology and helping our clients remove fugitive gas before it becomes fugitive gas, and beneficially using that in their business. Yeah.
Craig, we talked briefly in the back room. You know, you've been based in Europe for the last sort of 6 years and travelling around a lot. Is there anything overseas that you can see as our next big breakthrough for us, you know, regardless of commodity, that will reshape cost, productivity, sustainability?
I think the first thing to comment is the maturity of the market in Australia compared to some of the markets overseas. But that gap is closing very quickly. There's a lot of Australian contractors overseas that are changing the game somewhat, but the industry globally is definitely interested in how do we utilise technology more and more. What can we do in that space? I think one of the other things, before I get on to the game changer, is one of the things we need to be mindful of as an industry is that there is a shortage of capable people. Yep. Technical people, people to just swing spanners and fix machines. So some of what we're focusing on is not just how do we remove people from dangerous areas, but how do we remove people that don't need to be there because we can't get enough people. So I see, so that was a bit of an intro into where I was going. So what I do see though is the focus is on automation, electrification, digitalisation. That's a global space. The speed of that is different everywhere. But the value of that is really only unlocked when it's all connected. Then you really start to see significant transformations. Each part of that individually is good, it's when it's all connected into one ecosystem that we really start to see some transformation. And I think moving forward, some of the transformations, I think the next wave of that will come in the place of how does AI fit into this? How do we use this technology in a way that makes predictive maintenance a way of working, so that we're ahead of the curve? We can be so much further advanced in making sure that the machines that were designed to do jobs are doing those jobs and doing them as efficiently and as productively as possible. Now, customers pay a lot of money for machines. They need them working. Machines break down, but how do we maximise the uptime and minimise the downtime? That's sort of, and I see AI as a tool to help us get to that space. But I also, as an industry, we need to be mindful that we're going to need to invest in people still to support the infrastructure and the machinery and the operations.
Scott, critical minerals, obviously central to our energy transition, and you know, it is, as you said, it's shiny and it's new and it's all exciting. What's your vision for companies like Critical Minerals Group can prove how you can operate productively, responsibly, but in this rapidly evolving market that we're in with critical minerals?
Yeah, we often talk about sitting right in the heart of the energy transition. I mean, the technology we have is long duration storage, which is now really starting to come into the frame of conversation around storage and energy. It's basically storage. There's certain states that are ahead of others. I think if I come back to that point before, new technologies like ours need a little bit of a kick every now and again to support, because what we're trying to do is establish a supply chain in the country, and there is none. So sustainable, profitable, good outcomes for the country, certainly for the energy transition. We can almost solve our own problems that we're now realising by establishing a supply chain. We know we have the resources to develop and to process and refine this material. We know we've got the technology to manufacture active materials in the country, and we know we've got a need. That's very clear. So establishing a supply chain is really important, and I can't underestimate the value of partnerships in that equation, because you know, if I look at sort of what we are as a company, we're a little mining company, and we've spread our wings so wide to try and bring the partnerships in to be part of that supply chain, and everyone will benefit. The other thing I wanted to add around long-term sustainability is I do see a future with community, including traditional ownership in assets and businesses. And I see, and there's many models around the world. South Africa is a good example. There's sort of some extremes, but some really good examples where if you want community engagement and support long term, involve them. And I think that's very doable, and we just have to be a little bit ambitious and courageous.
You may have answered the last question, which is 30 seconds. If you had one piece of advice to industry leaders about how to work better across our value chain, so thinking operators, contractors, suppliers, community, what would it be?
Value your partnerships. Everyone needs to win.
Okay, great. Craig?
Trust, transparency, and engage early.
I love these 30 seconds. They're fives. Great. Ray?
Work together in every single piece of the value chain.
Fantastic.
Don't separate them. Yep.
Thank our panellists. I think it's clear today that we need stronger collaboration across the value chain, and it of course will drive better results for productivity, for cost and for sustainability. So if we could thank Ray, Craig and Scott. Thank you.